Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Welcome back to Outlaws and Gunslingers with your host Bang and Dang, and on to another thrilling episode here. This one coming off of the heels of the murder of John Lennon. Maybe the, like I was saying last week, correctly so, one of the top 5 assassinations in American history. Everybody knows it. If you were alive, you know where you were, and if you weren't alive, you've definitely heard about it, because everybody knows who John Lennon is, right? Right. This week, we go to, everybody knows about it, but everybody forgets about it. 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Everybody forget that it actually happened and was a thing because of, obviously, 9/11. But guess what? It was a thing. And by pretty much the same group that tried to do that did do the 9/11 attacks. So we are told. Right. So we are told. Actually, we'll get to the FBI in this episode. Don't you guys worry. So, once it starts being criminal stuff, especially attacks on the country, you know the FBI is going to have some part in it, right? Right. 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Obviously a terrorist attack on the World Trade Center. Carried out February 26, 93 by Ramzi Yousef when a truck bomb detonated below the North Tower of the complex. The 1,336-pound urea nitrate hydrogen gas enhanced device was intended to send the North Tower crashing into South Tower. That would have been
terrible.
Crazy. Bringing both towers down and killing tens of thousands of people. It failed to do so, but did kill 6 people. 6 people, though. That's not bad for a 1,300-pound bomb. They didn't take into account the basement or the parking garage. Stupids. Well, Ramzi Yousef spent time in an Al-Qaeda training camp in Afghanistan. Of course he did. Before beginning in 91 to plan a bombing attack within the United States. And I'm sure so right then the FBI and the Department of Defense and all that shit knew about it too, didn't they?
I'm sure. I am sure. Well, Yousef's uncle, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who later was considered the principal architect of September 11th, gave him advice and tips over the phone. Funded his co-conspirator Mohammed Salameh with the U.S. $660 wire transfer.
Wow.
Look at that. $660. I'm surprised they had another 6 on there, right?
Right.
Yousef arrived illegally in the United States on the 1st September 1992, traveling with Ahmad Azaj from Pakistan, though both set apart on the flight and acted as though they were traveling separately.
Okay.
Azaj tried to enter with a forged Swedish passport. Good thing they weren't sitting together, right?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's a good thing for Yousef, but not good for the 6 people.
Azaj?
Okay. A Swedish passport. Really?
All right.
Really?
All right. And it had been altered, and thus raised suspicions among INS officials at JFK International Airport.
Of course it did.
When officials put Azaj through secondary inspection, they discovered bomb-making instructions and other materials in his luggage. Arrested him. Good for you guys.
Right.
The name Abu Bara and alias of Muhammad Jamal Khalifa appeared in the manuals. Yousef tried to enter with a false... Well, okay, I was just thinking, good thing he was sitting by himself because you get through, but no, Yousef tried to enter with a false Iraqi passport, claiming political asylum.
There you go.
Yousef was allowed in the United States and was given a hearing date.
Yeah, they're always given hearing dates and allowed in, but how many actually show up to those hearing dates,
Right.
First of all? Well, then you...
Judges like, hey, how do we not see that one coming?
Right. Yousef, the judge doesn't even show up.
Right.
He's like, nobody...
Who am I kidding?
Ain't nobody showing up for this shit.
Yeah, 9 o'clock tea time, I ain't missing this shit.
Yousef set up residence in Jersey City, New Jersey, traveled around New York and New Jersey, and called Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman, a controversial blind Muslim cleric, via cell phone. After being introduced to his co-conspirators by Abdel Rahman, in the latter's Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, Yousef began assembling the 1,500 urea nitrate hydrogen gas enhanced device for delivery to the World Trade Center. He ordered chemicals from his hospital room when injured in a car crash, one of 3 accidents caused by Salameh in late 92 and early 93.
Since they can't eat it, they got to name their kids after it.
Right. So he's injured in car crashes, and there he is ordering chemicals to fund a bomb
In a hospital.
in a hospital room.
Ridiculous.
Jeez.
El Sayed Nozair, one of... I hate names.
We're going to butcher every single one of these
We're butchering
names,
these guys' names.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, people. One of the blind sheik's men was arrested in 1991 for the murder of Rabbi Mir Kahane. According to... Dang. Still murdering them Jewish and those... Arabs, man. Crazy mofos they are. According to prosecutors, the Red, which was Mahmud Abouhalima, also convicted in the bombing, told Wadeh El Haj to buy the .357 caliber revolver used by Nazair in the Kahane shooting. Okay. In an initial court case in the New York State Criminal Court, Nazair was acquitted of Moida, but convicted of gun charges. In a related and follow-up case in a federal court, he was convicted.
So wait, in the original trial, or whatever hearing, he was acquitted of murder but convicted of gun charges, so they know he had a gun.
Right.
How would they know that if it didn't kill him?
Dozens of Iraq bomb-making manuals and documents related to terrorist plots were found in Nazair's New Jersey apartment, with manuals from Army Special Warfare Center at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Secret memos linked to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Jeez. 1,440 rounds of ammo. Which, jeez.
Where did he get the secret memos linked to the Joint Chief of Staff? First of all,
exactly. From the Joint Chief.
Nobody questions that apparently, huh?
Because they got it from the Joint Chief of Staff.
All right. According to the transcript of his trial, Yousef hoped that his explosion would topple Tower 1, which would fall into Tower 2, killing the occupants of both buildings, which he estimated to be about 250,000 people. Jeez, dude. In revenge for the U.S. support for Israel against Palestine. According to journalist Steve Cole, Yousef mailed letters to various New York newspapers just before the attack, in which he claimed he belonged to the Liberation Army 5th Battalion.
Okay. Well, these letters made 3 demands. An end to all U.S. aid to Israel.
That's not happening.
An end to U.S. diplomatic relations with Israel.
That's not happening.
And a pledge by the United States to end interference and to join the Muslim Brotherhood. That's not it. Just
Pretty much so.
Yeah. With any of the Middle East countries, they're like, no more.
That's not happening.
All right. He stated that the attack on the World Trade Center would be merely the first of such attacks if his demands were not met.
He was right.
Yousef did not make any religious justification for the bombing. When asked about his religious views, he was evasive.
Oh, yeah, whatever. On Friday, February 26, 1993, Ramzi Yousef and a Jordanian friend, Ayed Ismail, drove a yellow Ford Econoline Ryder van into lower Manhattan, pulled into the public parking garage beneath the World Trade Center around noon. They parked on the underground B2 level. Yousef ignited the 20-foot fuse and fled. Nobody saw a 20-foot fuse just sparkling.
I wonder where that goes to. They're following it. It goes to that van.
Jeez. 12 minutes later. Jeez, 12 minutes for 20 feet? That's a low... 12 minutes, dude. Nobody saw it. I don't understand it. As busy as that damn park garage probably is.
Right.
12 minutes later, 12:17 and 37 seconds p.m., the bomb exploded in the underground garage, generating an estimated pressure of 150,000 psi.
All right.
Bomb opened a 100-foot wide hole through the 4 sublevels of concrete. Damn. The detonation velocity of this bomb was about 15,000 feet per second, or about 10,000 miles per hour, dude. So that shit was like,
boom. They thought it was going to do some damage.
It would have if it wasn't in no damn parking garage. Just people were retarded.
8 years later, they're like, maybe we need to fly a plane into it.
Even that, which wouldn't work, but...
We'll set up bombs every other floor. So they did, too. Fucking cocks.
Look at the... There's how many levels that are below ground, and these dudes did it in the parking garage down here, thinking it would do anything to these towers. It's idiots, dude.
Right.
Stupid.
Initial news reports indicated a main transfer might have blown.
Transformer, yeah.
Before it became clear that a bomb had exploded in the basement. The bomb instantly cut off the World Trade Center's main electrical power line, knocking out the emergency lighting system.
Ooh.
The bomb caused smoke to rise to the 93rd floor of the both towers,
wow,
including through the stairwells, which were not pressurized. And smoke went up to the damaged elevators in both towers. With thick smoke filling the stairwells, evacuation was difficult for building occupants and led to many to smoke inhalation and injuries.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Bow, bow.
Hundreds were trapped in elevators in the towers when the power was cut, including a group of 17 kindergartners on their way down from the South Tower observation deck. They were trapped between the 35th and 36th floors for 5 freaking hours.
5 hours with 17 kindergartners? Kill me now.
And how do you fit 17 kindergartners in an elevator?
Those elevators are pretty huge as shit, dude.
Right.
6 people were killed, like we mentioned before. 5 Port Authority employees, one of whom was pregnant, and a businessman whose car was in the parking garage.
So they count 7 people, or is it still 6?
6. And additionally, over 1,000 people were injured, most during the evacuation that followed the blast. A report from the U.S. Fire Administration states that among the scores of people who fled to the roofs of the towers, 28 with medical problems were airlifted by New York City police helicopters. Why go to the roof?
I mean, I guess if it's just smoke.
Right, I guess. Your buildings aren't going to collapse.
The smoke's going to get thicker and thicker on the way down.
It's true. It is known that 15 people received traumatic injuries from the blast and 20 complained of cardiac problems. 1 firefighter was hospitalized, while 87 others, 35 police officers, and an EMS worker were also injured in dealing with fires and other aftermaths.
Why didn't everybody just get on top of the roof the second time around?
Couldn't.
And then when it collapsed and when it almost hit the ground, just jump off.
I don't think that's how it worked. And you couldn't.
Why?
People that were above the fire could, probably, I guess, but even then, the smoke was too thick. No helicopters could have gotten there.
True. Also, a result of the loss of power, most of New York City's radio and television stations lost their over-the-air broadcast signal for almost a week.
Yeah, man, you got to remember that antenna that's on top of the World Trade Center is like the communications for New York.
Lifeline. Television stations only being able to broadcast via cable and satellite. A microwave hookup between the stations and 3 of the
signal goes dead, and they're like, "What the hell happened?" It's fucking Tim from accounting warming up his hot pocket.
Right, Tim from accounting. The Cablevision, Comcast, and Time Warner Cable were the only ones who could even do anything. Telephone service for much of Lower Manhattan was also disrupted.
Yousef's plan was that the North Tower, like we said, would fall into the south. The tower did not collapse, obviously, but the garage was severely damaged in the explosion. Had the van been parked closer to the WTC's poured concrete foundations, Yousef's plan might have succeeded. No, still wasn't toppling a damn building. Yousef escaped to Pakistan several hours after the bombing.
Oh, jeez.
How does that happen?
Right. They're going to let him back on a plane out of the country when they were like, well, you have a hearing here.
Yeah, you have a hearing that you're seeking
immigration.
He was seeking political asylum. Why would he want to go back to the country that he was seeking it from? Well, he's going to Pakistan.
Yeah. They're like, all right, get the hell out of here, bud.
Stupid. Still dumb.
Right. First reports describe the explosion as having the characteristics of 200 to 300 pounds of a plastic explosive called Semtex. That's a hell of a description of that. According to an article published in 1997, Semtex was only used as a detonating charge in the bomb, but it is unknown how the terrorists would have obtained Semtex, which is not a homemade explosive, unlike other supposed components of the bomb. So how do you get it?
Assuming the CIA provided it for them.
yeah. According to the FBI, Yousef was assisted by Iraqi bomb maker. I'm sure he was.
Right.
Abdul Rahman Asin, who helped assemble the complex 1,310-pound bomb.
This is the third different poundage of the bomb that we've heard described already, by the way.
Right, which was made of urea nitrate, main charge, with aluminum, magnesium, and ferric oxide surrounding the explosive. Okay.
The charge used nitroglycerin, ammonium nitrate dynamite, smokeless powder, and a fuse as booster explosives. 3 tanks of bottled hydrogen were also placed in a circular configuration around the main charge to enhance the fireball and afterburn of the solid metal particles. The use of compressed gas cylinders in this type of attack closely resembles the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing 10 years earlier.
Dang.
Both of these attacks used compressed gas cylinders to create fuel, air, and thermobaric bombs that release more energy than conventional high explosives.
You kidding?
Right.
That's some crazy energy there.
Was the same people responsible for the Beirut?
I'm sure. CIA? Yes. Lebanon? Definitely.
It's a suicide bomber. Hezbollah, under the name of Islamic Jihad Organization, along with Iranian and Syrian involvement. So.
Okay.
Well, so same people. Sorry.
According to testimony in the bomb trial, only once before the 1993 attack had the FBI recorded a bomb that used urea nitrate. Moreover, FBI agent Frederick Whitehorse was strongly critical of the procedures used to determine that the bomb contained urea nitrate. According to his testimony, he urinated in a vial, dried the urine, gave a sample of it to the analysts, who still concluded that the substance handed to them was urea nitrate. Is that possible?
What?
Does urine have urea?
So basically, there's no test to see what urea nitrate is.
Right.
is what he's saying. What they're saying, just like COVID tests. No, we're not supposed to say that out loud.
Whatever. The Ryder van used in the bombing had 295 cubic foot of space, which would hold up to 2,000 pounds of explosives. However, the van was not filled to capacity. Yousef used 4 20-foot-long fuses, all covered in surgical tubing. Yassin calculated that the fuse would trigger the bomb in about 12 minutes after he had used a cigarette lighter to light the fuse.
As opposed to any other kind of lighter?
Right. And a cigarette lighter in about 12 minutes. Now if you use a Zippo.
Cigar lighter. Yousef wanted the smoke to remain in the tower, smothering people inside, killing them slowly. Well, he almost accomplished that. He anticipated Tower 1 collapsing into Tower 2 after the blast. There was a popular belief at the time that there was cyanide in the bomb, which was reinforced by Judge Duffy's statement at sentencing. He said, "You had sodium cyanide around, and I'm sure it was in the bomb." However, while the bomb's true composition was not able to be ascertained from the crime scene, don't know why, Robert Blitzer, a senior FBI official who worked on the case, stated that there was no forensic evidence indicating the presence of sodium cyanide at the bomb site. It's a good idea, though. Put some cyanide in there and shit, just kill everybody. Dude.
Well, the CIA and FBI had to clearly deny that one because now you're talking chemical warfare.
Right. Furthermore, Yousef is said to only have considered adding cyanide to the bomb and to have regretted not doing so, which is according to Peter Lance in his book, 1,000 Years for Revenge.
Dude, if he would have put cyanide in that,
he would have definitely killed tens of thousands, probably.
Oh, my goodness, dude. There would be no Afghanistan left.
Right.
There'd be a hole in the ground. But we would have emptied the whole country out into the United States and then blew up an empty country for some fucking reason.
Only thing that was left in the country was our helicopters and shit.
Right, we got all the terrorists here. Let's do it. What are we gonna do with them? Let them out in Montana or something. Right. Though the case of the blast was not immediately known, the cause of the blast was not immediately known, with some suspecting a transformer explosion. Agents and bomb technicians from the ATF, FBI, and NYPD quickly responded to the scene.
Let's see, corrupt.
Agents quickly determined that the magnitude of the explosion was far beyond that of a transformer. The FBI Laboratory Division technician, David Williams, who took charge of the crime scene, claimed to know prior to scientific testing the nature and size of the bomb, which other lab specialists such as Stephen Burmeister and Frederick Whitehurst contradicted, and later challenged with embarrassing consequences for the FBI laboratory. This dude already knows. They were like, we gotta get someone here that just gotta have an answer quick. Tell me this is what this bomb is.
Because that's not fishy, right?
Right.
In the days after the bombing, investigators surveyed the damage and looked for clues. I fucking hope so. About 300 FBI agents were deployed under the codename Trade Bomb, without the B at the end. While combing through the rubble in the underground parking area, a bomb technician located some internal component fragments from the vehicle that delivered the bomb. A VIN number was found on a piece of axle and gave investigators crucial information that led them to a Ryder truck rented from DIB Leasing in Jersey City. Investigators determined that the vehicle had been rented by Mohammed Salameh. Hey, let's just rent it under our own names. One of Yousef's co-conspirators. Salameh had reported the van stolen. Okay, cover my tracks a little bit there, huh? Reported the van stolen. Who the hell is going to steal a Ryder truck?
Right.
And when he returned on March 4th, 93 to get his deposit back, authorities arrested him. Oh, my gosh. I guess he had to carry out and act like he was innocent, right?
Dude has some balls. I'm going to get my deposit back. Salameh's arrest led police to the apartment of Abdul Rahman Yassin at 40 Pomerapo Avenue in New Jersey, which Yassin was sharing with his mother in the same building as Ramzi Yousef's apartment. Yassin was taken to the FBI's network field office in Newark.
Or the Newark field office.
And then he was released.
Of course he was.
The next day, he flew back to Iraq.
Of course he did.
The next day, he flew back to Iraq. Yassin was later indicted for the attack. And in 2001, he was placed on the initial list of the FBI most wanted terrorists. I think he's going to be off that list in a couple months in 2001.
You think so?
Maybe. One of which he remains today.
Yes.
He disappeared before the U.S. coalition invasion. Operation Iraqi Freedom, 2003. March 1994, Salameh, Naidal Ayad, Mahmud Abouhalima, and Ahmad Aziz were each convicted in the World Trade Center bombing. Fuck these names. I'm sorry, people.
Jeez, oh, Peter.
So sad.
In May of 94, they were sentenced to 240 years in prison. In the years since, they have received several sentencing reductions, which would allow them to walk free in their 90s or 100s. So, when they're old as shit. The capture of Salameh and Yassin led authorities to Yousef's apartment, where they found bomb-making materials and a business card from Mohammed Jamal Khalifa.
Oh, jeez.
Khalifa was arrested on December 14, 1994, was deported to Jordan by the INS on May 5, 1995. He was acquitted by a Jordanian court, because of course, and lived as a free man in Saudi Arabia until he was killed in 2007.
Dang.
I'm assuming it wasn't a tragic killing.
Right, 2002. It was made public that Yassin, the only person involved in the bombing, who was never convicted by U.S. authorities, was being held as a prisoner on the outskirts of Baghdad since 1994.
Wow. By who?
Right. When journalist Leslie Stahl interviewed him there for a segment on 60 Minutes.
Wow, so we know where this guy is. We're just interviewing him. Cool.
Right. On May 23rd, 2002, Yassin appeared in prison pajamas and handcuffs.
Well, at least they give him pajamas.
Right. Yassin has not been seen. Yassin? No.
Nope.
Has not been seen or heard from since the interview. He was not located during the 2003 invasion of Iraq.
Well, they killed him right after that interview, probably.
None of the U.S. government's indictments against former al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden suggested that he had any connection to this bombing.
Well, as we stated before, 6 people were killed. John D. Giovanni, which was age 45, he was a dental product salesperson. He already hated his life. Robert Bob Kirkpatrick, age 61, senior structural maintenance supervisor. Stephen Knapp, age 47, chief maintenance supervisor, mechanical section. Bill Macco, age 57, general maintenance supervisor, mechanical section. Wilfred Mercado, age 37, a receiving agent for Windows on the World restaurant. Monica Rodriguez Smith, age 35, a secretary who was 7 months pregnant. And at the time of the bombing, Smith was checking timesheets in her office on the B2 level. Kirkpatrick, Knapp, and Macco were eating lunch together in an employee's break room next to Smith's office. Mercado was checking in deliveries for the restaurant, and D. Giovanni was parking in the underground garage. There's only people in that underground level right there at that time?
Just those 6 people. The South Tower did not reopen until the 18th of March, 1993, except the World Trade Center observation deck, which reopened on 17th of April.
Huh.
While the North Tower remained closed until April 1st, 1993.
A lot of money lost.
The cost to repair both buildings, $250 million. According to National September 11 Memorial and Museum, the Vista International Hotel at 3 World Trade Center remained closed until the 1st of November, 1994. After extensive repairs and renovations that amounted to $65 million.
It was a whole different building, too.
The concourse level was reopened on 27th of March, 1993, while the parking garage reopened on September 1st, 1993, for some vehicles.
For some vehicles. Definitely no rider trucks, I guarantee that. Even though the windows on the World at the North Tower's 107th floor wasn't damaged, the explosion damaged receiving areas, storage, and parking spots used by the restaurant complex. As a result, the restaurant was forced to shut down.
Right.
As the Port Authority decided to hire Joseph Baum, the restaurant's original designer, to renovate the space at a cost of $25 million, reopening was delayed until June 6, 1996. Well, so it's there. And now, apparently, something called the Cellar in the Sky reopened after Labor Day of that same year.
Fantastic. A granite memorial fountain honoring the victims who died during the bombing was designed by Ellen Zimmerman and dedicated on 26 February 1995 on Austin J. Tobin Plaza, directly above the site of the explosion. It contained the names of the 6 adults who were killed in the attack, as well as an inscription with written both in English and Spanish that read, "On February 26, 1993, a bomb set by terrorists exploded below this site. This horrible act of violence killed innocent people, injured thousands, and made victims of all of us."
No mention for the baby that was killed.
Right.
They did it for the.
No mention for that baby.
They did it for the Texas Tower killing. The fountain was destroyed with the rest of the World Trade Center during the September 11th attacks. I would assume so.
Obviously.
A recovered fragment of the fountain marked John D. from the name John D. Giovanni was later incorporated into a temporary memorial designed by Port Authority architect Jacqueline Hanley and erected on the Liberty Street side of the site following the attacks of the 11th. The memorial was visible across a fence barrier but was not open to the public. The rest of the fountain was never recovered, obviously, and any of its remains were removed from Ground Zero along with the rest of the rubble.
Obviously.
Hey, John D., though.
Right. 9/11 Memorial, which opened on the 10th anniversary of 2001 attacks. The dead of the 1993 bombing are memorialized at the North Pool on panel N73. The recovered fragment of the memorial fountain is on display among other artifacts related to the bombing inside the museum's historical exhibition. The postcards memorial in Staten Island contains the name of Stephen Knapp, the sole person from that borough who died in the bombing.
Oh, good for you, Stephen. You get a whole thing by yourself. Right. All I got to say is that little 9/11 memorial better not be charged to go into the museum part of it or anything like that.
I'm sure it is.
I'm sure it is too, but shouldn't be. In the course of the trial, it was revealed that the FBI had an informant. Oh, here we go!
Oh, no.
Who was a former Egyptian army officer named Imad Salem. Salem claimed FBI involvement in the building of the bomb. Oh, jeez. Did you guys really think we were going to end this episode without something like this?
Oh, we all knew it was coming.
He secretly recorded hundreds of hours of telephone conversations with his FBI handlers. Federal authorities denied Salem's view of events, and the New York Times concluded that the tapes, quote-unquote, do not make clear the extent to which federal authorities knew that there was going to be a plan to bomb the World Trade Center, merely that they knew that a bombing of some sort was being discussed. Oh, my gosh.
Here we go.
But for the recordings, Ahmad would have been charged as a co-conspirator. It was recordings that were never provided to the New York Times that prevented the FBI from charging Ahmad. The FBI is going to charge Ahmad for something they were planning.
Yeah.
Bullshit. We know why the tapes never came up.
Right. This is some crazy stuff. Although the FBI received the credit, Diplomatic Security Services, which is the DSS, special agents actually found and arrested Ramzi Yousef, the architect of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
I thought they never found him.
Special agents Bill Miller and Jeff Reiner were given a tip of an associate of Ramzi about his location. Coordination with the Pakistani Inter Services Intelligence, DSS arrested Ramzi. After his arrest, Ramzi is alleged to have said to the investigators, "This is only the beginning." Oh, man.
In an October 2001 interview with PBS, former CIA Director James Woolsey claimed that Ramzi Yousef worked for Iraqi intelligence. He suggested the grand jury investigation turned up evidence pointing to Iraq that the Justice Department brushed aside. Oh. They were like, you don't worry about Iraq.
Right.
Especially this was a month after the 9/11 attacks, so they're like, you just don't worry about them. We got something in store. But Neil Herman, who headed the FBI investigation, noted the one glaring connection that can't be overlooked is Yasin. Yeah. We pursued that on every level, traced him to a relative and a location, and we made overtures to get him back. However, Herman says that Yasin's presence in Baghdad does not mean Iraq sponsored the attack. He says, we looked at that rather extensively. There were no ties to the Iraqi government.
No. Because there was ties to the United States government.
Right.
CNN terrorism reporter Peter L. Bergen writes, in sum, by the mid-90s, the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, the CIA, the NSC, the State Department had all found no evidence implicating the Iraqi government in the first Trade Center attack. Claims of direct Iraqi involvement from Dr. Laurie Melroy of the American Enterprise Institute and former associate professor of the U.S. Naval War College, with the claims rejected by others. CNN reporter Peter Bergen has also called her a crackpot, who claimed that Saddam was not only behind the 9/3 Trade Center attack, but also every anti-American terrorist incident of the past decade. From the bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, to the leveling of the federal building in Oklahoma City, to September 11th itself.
Saddam, he's saying, was part of the OKC bombing, huh?
Wow, Daniel Benjamin, senior fellow at the... Daniel Benjamin, a senior fellow at the Center of Strategic and International Studies, writes, the most knowledgeable analysts and investigators at the CIA and at the FBI believe that there were conclusively disproves Mallory's claims. Sure it does. 2008, Pentagon released a study of some 600,000 documents captured in Iraq after the 2003 invasion. Sure.
Leave it to a CNN reporter to be the one that's defending the FBI and all that shit. Saddam was part of the fucking OK. Get out of here, dude. The study that they released found no smoking gun between Saddam's Iraq and Al-Qaeda. Among the documents released by the Pentagon was a captured audio file of Saddam Hussein speculating that the 93 attack on the World Trade Center had been carried out by Israel or American intelligence or perhaps a Saudi or Egyptian faction.
Jeez.
What?
What the hell?
Oh, Saddam saying this, apparently. Saddam said that he did not trust the bomber, Yassin, who was in Iraqi custody because his testimony was too organized.
Right.
The Pentagon study found that Yassin was a prisoner and not a guest in Iraq. Milroy denied that this was proof of Saddam's non-involvement, claiming that one common purpose of such meetings was to develop cover stories for whatever Iraq sought to conceal. Obviously.
All right.
Jeez.
Wow. In the wake of the bombings and the chaotic evacuation which followed, the World Trade Center and many of the firms inside revamped emergency procedures, particularly with regard to evacuation of towers. Yeah, I think that'd be number one. Like, yeah, we need to get that in check. You think that would have done anyway in case of fire? The New York Port Authority was to govern as the main security for the World Trade Center. All packages were scanned at the various checkpoints, then sent up to the proper address. These policies played a role in evacuating the building during September 11, which destroyed the towers, obviously. Free access to the roofs, which had enabled evacuations by police helicopter in 1993 bombing, was ended soon after.
Why?
Because they didn't want anybody to get out.
Well, obviously, but why? What was their reasoning?
Right.
Since the September 11th attacks, the 93 bombing is sometimes described as forgotten and unknown.
Yeah.
Although the 93 bombing made the World Trade Center a publicly known terrorist target, with the possibility of another attack suspected as early as 95.
I mean, the bombing made a target, not just two humongous buildings next to each other, overtowering New York.
Right.
Jeez.
A bombing or another attack suspected as early as 95 and January 2001. The 2001 attacks went largely unforeseen by U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agency. No, they fucking didn't. We'll get into that shit later on when we actually do the episode on the 9/11 attacks. But it's already well documented that there was memos and shit sent months before this shit even happened. So
months.
While victims' family members and injured survivors of the 2001 terrorist attack received compensation from the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund, no such compensation was given to those affected by the 93 bombing.
Well, of course not.
Why wouldn't there be?
Some of the victims, which include families of the killed victims of 1993 Trade Center bombings, sued the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey for damages. A decision was handed down in 2005, assigning the liability for the bombings to the Port Authority.
Wow. Okay.
The decision declared that the agency was 68% responsible.
How do you come up to that conclusion?
Holy shit. Damn. And the terrorists bore only 32% of responsibility.
Wait a minute. So the guys that drove the truck, put together the bomb, and detonated the bomb had only 32% responsibility.
Oh,
Got
my goodness. January 2008, the Port Authority asked a five-judge panel of the Appellate Division of New York State Supreme Court in Manhattan to throw out the decision, describing the jury's verdict as bizarre.
You ain't kidding.
Right.
Holy shit.
68%? Really?
Must have been a lot of Muslims on that jury.
Right.
April 29, 2008, a New York State appeals court unanimously upheld the jury's verdict. Wow. Under the New York law, a defendant who is more than 50% at fault can be held fully financially liable. I've never heard of this 68% at fault in anything before. Wow.
It's New York for you, bud.
September 22nd, 2011, the New York Court of Appeals, in a 4-3 ruling, excluded the Port Authority from claims of negligence related to the bombing.
Oh.
What the hell would they have done? I don't understand.
All right.
It has been argued that the problem with the apportionment of responsibility in the case is not the jury's verdict, but rather New York's tort reform-produced state apportionment law.
Oh, jeez.
Traditionally, courts do not compare intentional and negligent fault. The Restatement Third of Torts, Apportionment of Liability, which is a bill or something,
Sure.
a law, recommends a rule to prevent juries from having to make comparisons like the terrorist Port Authority comparison in this case. Right, stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb.
However, if a jurisdiction does compare these intentional and negligent torts, court's second best position is to do what the NYS Appeals Court did, is to uphold all jury apportionments, even those that assign greater or perhaps far greater responsibility to negligent than intentional parties. That makes no sense. It's just
That's dumb.
just further proves how stupid New York is, dude.
Yeah.
How does that even make sense? Hey, Port Authority guys, 5 of your guys got killed in this bomb, but you guys are responsible.
68%.
Jeez.
68% responsible.
68% at fault for this. Like, how does that even mean? It's just stupid.
So that means they can be charged for murder and all that, right? Even though they're dead?
Well, the Port Authority's not dead.
Right.
Wow. Bizarre, and that's not even the beginning of the bizarreness that comes out of the World Trade Center and all that shit, which we will get to. Don't you worry. We should have done it this week since it's already the 8th when we're recording this, and it'll be the 13th when this comes out. What would that be? The 21st anniversary of the attacks?
Yeah, it's not a good one.
Right. Well, it's going to be in the middle of the 21st anniversary when we do finally do it. But yeah, we got more of shenanigans at the World Trade Center coming up. Don't worry. We got a nice 7, 8, 9, 10-parter for you probably.
This one in 93 was the FBI thought they had it. And CIA thought this was it. And they were like, well, that didn't work. All right. Now it's time to get back to drawing board. And we'll stick with the bombs in the basement. But maybe we need to go 50 floors up, too. And then how about a freaking airplane? How about that?
Jeez, all I got to do is go to Google and type FBI involvement in and just a shit ton. Boston Marathon bombing, Waco, Buffalo shooting. Don't worry, there's more. Also involved a 93-year-old man. 93 lean ground beef.
Oh, no.
93 octane gas. What does the FBI have their hands in, dude? And lean ground turkey.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit. Yeah, that's going to do it for us. Short little episode after an hour and almost 40 minutes of John Lennon last
I bet
week.
you guys are glad it was a short episode with all that murdering of names.
Yeah, there was more names murdered than people in the episode. I don't know what we'll be back next week for. I was thinking about doing the 2 trials of Michael Jackson in back-to-back weeks, but dang doesn't think that's a
He's not an outlaw.
or gunslinger.
He's not an outlaw or a gunslinger.
He is an outlaw.
He's not.
He
He's
is.
never an outlaw.
He was charged.
They don't make him an outlaw.
He was charged.
No, an outlaw is you're wanted by the police.
He is wanted. He was
wasn't
wanted.
wanted.
He had a warrant.
No.
Yes, he did.
No.
Yeah, he did.
No.
How the hell do you think you go to trial? If you're not convicted or anything, you just don't go to trial.
Yeah.
So obviously he was wanted.
No.
It was a warrant and turned himself in.
You can still go to trial.
No. For what?
He wasn't wanted.
Yes, he was.
He wasn't running from the law. That's what an outlaw is. He's running from the law.
He still was wanted.
He wasn't running from it. He didn't know.
He was. Of course he did. He turned himself in.
Right. So then he knew he turned himself in. So he's not a fucking outlaw.
He's a dick slinger. I don't know. I think it's still.
It's not.
It's a true crime
But the saying that
type deal.
it's
Worthy.
It's not worthy.
It's worthy.
It's not worthy. That's
I
like,
think.
That's like an episode we do when we run out of stuff.
Yeah. We ran out of stuff. I don't know, man. Let us know. What do you think? Is Michael Jackson, any of the trials, worthy of an Outlaws and Gunslingers episode, or does it not fit the criteria?
It doesn't.
Let us know. bangdangpodcast@gmail.com. In other words,
we'll never find the answer to that.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do Waco. Maybe we'll do. Does the Manson murders count as serial killers?
No.
Because they only killed that one night. Let us know about the Michael Jackson thing, though. bangdangpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know. Because I think both of them are pretty interesting, to be honest with you. Other than that, go check out our other show, Battles of the American Civil War, where we are currently in the, I think, beginning of May of 1862. Yep, beginning of May of 1862. Coming up, our episode this week's going to be the Siege of Corinth. It's a pretty significant one, and the Battle of Williamsburg, and probably the Battle of Eltham's Landing. And that's going to lead us into... Well, we're still leading. We're getting led there. The Battle of Second Bull Run coming up. The biggest battle of 1862, probably. Maybe even top 5 battle of the whole war, right? Right. Either way, Confederates are getting their ass kicked right now and doing some dumb shit. As well as Union, by the way. They're all dumb. Stupid. Thanks for just do the show by myself here. And then our other show, This Week in Sports History, where, as the title suggests, we go through the week in sports history, including touchdown records, baseball records, hockey records, and some that are not so proud to be spoken out loud. So, lots of stuff going on there. If you enjoy the show, you'll enjoy both of those shows. Go look up Bang Dang Network on Google, and you'll see those 2 shows, as well as some of the other chef stuff that we do for no reason at all. Yeah, that being said, we'll be back next week for Michael Jackson, where the Mountain Michiganders with.